Be sure to subscribe to the Healthcare Security Cast so you don't miss a single episode. We're on multiple platforms including Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, and Audible, just about anywhere where you can listen to a podcast. For links to all of these sites, for links to join the Healthcare Security Cast community groups on LinkedIn and Facebook, or if you're interested in being a guest or being a sponsor, you can find all of this through one link. Check out our link tree at linktree/Brian Hamilton. That's linktr.ee/Brian, B-R-I-N-E, Hamilton. Again, that's linktr.ee/Brian Hamilton. And before we get into the show, I just want to thank our sponsors, 3D Network Technology. Reliability is our core value. Visit 3dnetworktechnology.com. And Genetech, delivering security strategies for healthcare. Visit Genetech, that's GENETEC.com. And also the Change Execution Group and 360 Life Transformations. Visit 360lifetransformations.com.
Welcome to the Healthcare Security Cast, the podcast dedicated to healthcare security, safety, and emergency management. If you are involved with a healthcare security program or desire to be, this podcast is for you. Join the conversation as we discuss the issues that matter to healthcare security professionals while leveraging the expertise of healthcare security thought leaders and experts in personal development. And now, here's your host, Brian Hamilton.
Welcome to episode 99 of the Healthcare Security Cast. On today's episode, I'm joined by Neil Sutton, editor of Canadian Security Magazine. As part of this episode, I'd also like to formally announce the collaboration between the Healthcare Security Cast and Canadian Security Magazine. Now, as part of this collaboration, Canadian Security Magazine will participate in some Healthcare Security Cast giveaways, and the part that I'm most excited about is the opportunity to award the inaugural Healthcare Security Cast Security Professional of the Year. So this is an award that will be given to a frontline security professional at the Focus on Healthcare event that we'll talk about in the show. Again, I'm very excited for this collaboration, and I hope you enjoy this episode learning a little bit more about Neil and about the magazine. So without further ado, we are joined by Neil Sutton. Neil, thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Brian. I appreciate the invitation.
Oh, absolutely. Now, I want to start off by asking, just about your role with Canadian Security Magazine. Can you tell us a bit about your role and what it entails?
Sure. So I've been with the publication for 14 years now. So my title is editor. So within that, there's a number of different responsibilities. I guess the one that most people would think of was I'm the editor of the physical magazine. So writing and editing articles for that magazine, putting it together and putting it out. But my role also entails various other things that we do. And those could be anything from recording podcasts to hosting events to running the website to posting on social media. So in addition to the print publication, we have sort of arms in other areas of media. So we try and reach our audience through as many ways as we can, really.
Excellent. Now, I guess what I'll ask is if you can tell us a little bit more about Canadian Security Magazine in general. And I guess from there, we'll actually take a look at some of the events that you guys run as well.
Sure. Yes. So we've been in publication for a little more than 40 years. So we are the publication for corporate security in Canada, basically. So that could be anybody from CSOs, managers to frontline. So we try and tackle the issues that are relevant to security professionals across the country. So we look at that from a variety of different perspectives. So we try and cover all the verticals where security operates. So that could be healthcare, as you mentioned, could be retail loss prevention, financial security, property management, cybersecurity. So we try and delve into all of those topics on a regular basis through articles and, as I mentioned, through events and podcasts and other opportunities. So yeah, we try and sort of be the voice for security, tackling the issues that are relevant and, raising issues and, getting people's opinions and sort of being a meeting place for security professionals to sort of share ideas as well.
Excellent. Now, as you alluded to earlier, one of the big things are the events that get put on. And you guys have done a great job of adapting to, the current climate and moving things virtual, still getting really good quality events. But what are some of the events that you're involved with? And what are the benefits to both the healthcare security professionals as well as, your security professionals in general?
Sure. Yeah. So we host a number of events during the year. We've pivoted to virtual, obviously, in the last year because of COVID. So before that, we were hosting them in person. So now all of our events, and we've hosted 6 since the pandemic started, have all been virtual. So a lot of those are broken down by some of those markets I mentioned. So we do a focus on healthcare event in December. We've done events that look at retail, property management, financial security. We also host a career expo every March, which we do in collaboration with magazines that are also part of Annex Business Media, which is the publisher that publishes our security publication. So that's in collaboration with Blue Line, which is our policing magazine, and Firefighting in Canada, which is our fire magazine. So that event tries to recruit or tries to provide information to young people looking for careers in security. So that's one way that we try and encourage young people to get engaged with security. So yeah, I guess specifically with healthcare, like I mentioned, we do focus on healthcare every December. We've been doing that for the past 7 or 8 years now. We've done it in collaboration with HSS, which we've done every year since we started. So we very much appreciate that support. So we usually have the sitting president come and speak, which we've done consistently every year, actually. So yeah, we break down topics that are relevant to the healthcare security audience. So we've done everything from mental health to tackling violence in healthcare, like almost any topic you could think of that would be relevant to that healthcare security audience. We've tried to tackle it over the years. We've had some amazing speakers come out and sort of share their wealth of knowledge. It's been a privilege, really. As I mentioned, our most recent event was virtual, which allowed us to really sort of open up the floodgates a bit. So usually we do an event in Toronto, which is where we're based, but the virtual event allowed us to engage with pretty much every province across Canada. So we had speakers joining us from BC and Nova Scotia and almost everywhere in between. So yeah, that was a great experience, sort of having that collaboration. So I really enjoyed doing that. And we'll be hosting another event this coming December. Maybe a little too soon to start discussing those details, but we'll get there. Right now, that's also planned to be a virtual event as well. But no, it's been a great opportunity. Of course, being virtual, you can reach, theoretically anywhere as well. So it's really opened up our attendance, mostly in Canada, of course. But yeah, we had some attendees from the US, I think, as well. So it's been a great experience learning how to shift from doing physical events to virtual events. I've certainly learned a lot in that process myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the next thing I'd like to talk about, number one, I'll say I'm excited to share that the Healthcare Security Cast and Canadian Security Magazine are going to be collaborating. And first, I'll start by saying it's just a privilege to collaborate with the magazine. Again, it's been a great benefit to me over the course of my career and just being able to be involved with some of the events and some of the initiatives. From your perspective, what do you feel like is the most exciting part of this collaborative effort?
Sure. Yeah. No. We are extremely pleased to be collaborating with you on this. Like, I consider you a collaborator already. Like, I've known you for a long time. You last year you were named as one of our top 10 under 40 winners. You've certainly been engaged with our events on various levels, from our healthcare event. You've been extremely supportive and collaborative on that in terms of like helping us engage with speakers. And also you've been involved with our Career Expo as well as a mentor. And I believe you served on our board when we had a board up and running, when we were just getting that event started. You were helping us, get the word out to students through your own teaching engagements and things like that. So yeah, I definitely consider you a collaborator. So this feels like a natural extension, right? So we're pleased to be working with you, whether that's engagement with our future healthcare events. Yeah, so we really appreciate the opportunity to work with you more closely.
Absolutely. No, and like I said, it's an honor, and I kind of agree with you. I feel like I've been a collaborator all this time, but I think it's nice to kind of formalize that and show that we're supporting each other essentially at the end of the day.
For sure, yeah.
Now, I have some questions specific to the pandemic. Again, it's probably a topic that everybody I think has talked about enough, but being a magazine that's covered the industry throughout the pandemic, what are some of the things that you've learned about the industry during this time?
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because I was actually part of a panel that was put on by the Ottawa chapter of ASIS just a week or so ago. And one of the major topics we talked about was how security and technology has changed over the course of the pandemic. Like just looking back to last March, when everything shifted and it was all new information, it was kind of like a fire hose, right? So just trying to sort of engage with that information, shift from working in an office and to working at home and not going anywhere anymore. Basically, if I was traveling, it was virtually through my computer. So lessons learned for me, probably the resiliency of the security industry. Like, I think it pivoted extremely quickly and pretty well in terms of engaging with this new reality. There were pandemic plans in the past that everybody had written up, And maybe the reality differed a bit from those plans, but I think everybody got up to speed very quickly, especially since the pandemic caused things to change on probably a daily basis in the beginning, as government mandates changed, as people had to send their employees home. So just getting up to speed with and security has been almost literally on the front line of this pandemic since the beginning. So marshaling all those resources and finding the hours to fill all these spots, and there's a lot of stress involved. So security has been instrumental in sort of making sure that the pandemic or minimizing the impact on the pandemic as much as possible. One of the things I talked about a lot during my ASAS presentation or co-presentation, some of the technologies that have come to the forefront. I think we've all become more familiar with those. I've written articles about how access control has changed over the last year to sort of touchless, the growth of biometric, things like that. We've all seen the temperature monitoring cameras that have become much more commonplace. So yeah, in terms of technology, it's in some ways it's kind of accelerated some of those things that were already in development. In terms of policy, I think it's going to be, months or years for people to really digest what has happened. So yes, security has shifted to accommodate these short-term changes, but I think longer term, these things are going to be lessons that will be digested over years. I don't think anybody really knows what the future of work is going to look like necessarily, but there are hints that with everybody at home, we'll probably have more sort of hybrid work engagements and things like that, and that's going to affect how people implement security in the future. But yeah, it's been a lot of learning in a very compressed time frame. I've certainly learned a lot. Like I said, all the events that we've hosted have pivoted online. So I've sort of learned from sort of engaging with a room full of 100 or more people to doing what we're doing now, which is just basically chatting to my laptop, right? So, but it's different levels of engagement. So in some ways, the messaging is still the same. People, that I talk to are still the same, but the way we collaborate and the way we engage has changed, and those changes might be around for a long time to come. So yeah, it's been a learning process, and I'm sure I will continue to learn more as the pandemic hopefully starts to come to an end.
Right now, in terms of all the virtual events, is there anything that kind of sticks out as a point? Was there anything that kind of stuck out for you, either as just being like an interesting learning experience, or something that was just kind of funny that maybe we may not have been privy to on the other end, as participants or viewers of a webinar or something of that nature?
Anything sort of behind the scenes kind of stuff. It was more sort of like becoming familiar with new software tools, learning to moderate panels by just seeing half a dozen little heads on a screen, and in some ways it's easier because you can see everybody's face at the same time, right? So it's a bit different when you're on a stage and you're constantly craning your neck looking around at people and making sure that you give people equal time to answer questions and things like that. So in some ways the virtual events are easier. In other ways, it's more difficult because you don't see your audience, right? So for the most part, our audience, or all I see is a number in the corner of my screen seeing how many people are logged in, but I don't get to see the faces. So you don't get that immediate feedback. So there's pluses and minuses. Yeah, we've been pretty lucky because we haven't had any big snafus. I haven't had any major technical challenges. And that's largely, I think, due to the support that we get from our events team, Annex Business Media, who's been truly remarkable in helping us put on all these virtual events. So yeah, nothing tragic has happened in terms of virtual event presentation. Yeah, and I think, even post-pandemic, we'll continue to look at this as an option to engage with people because it gives us so many more options, right? As I mentioned, you can have a much wider audience. You don't have to expect people to give up half their day or travel, so the instant engagement is there, and there's definitely advantages to doing it that way as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the one thing for me, well, there was a lot of things because I've done a lot of stuff online in terms of presentations and things like that. But there was a webinar that I was helping lead, kind of in the background, but I opened it up, I introduced it. So I remember I had a collared shirt on at the start of it because everybody else was in a suit, and I'm usually just in a hoodie in in the environment that I'm in. But I opened it up and I forgot that I was going to be actually back on the screen at the end. So I changed right after I did the introduction, put my hoodie back on. And then, I remembered after I turned my camera back on at the end of the presentation, I was like, okay, I wonder if anybody caught that I did a wardrobe change in the middle of the webinar, but no one said anything. So hopefully, until now anyways, no one noticed.
No, my guess is they probably wouldn't notice. But if I know you've been on camera a lot since the pandemic, so If that's the biggest problem you faced, you're doing pretty well.
Well, that's the one that sticks out. I'm sure there's been other snafus that I'm maybe just forgetting right now. Now, in terms of Canadian Security Magazine, what can we expect moving forward?
What can you expect moving forward? So yeah, we've always been trying to engage on new platforms. So we've been trying to ramp up our social media presence. We've actually probably increased the number of events that we've put on over the last couple of years. We have 2 podcasts, and we're hoping to provide more content that way as well. So just in terms of future engagement, I would say we're doing as much as we can online in terms of digital engagement. I think we're always going to have those print publications. They're always going to be, they're extremely important to the brand and to the audience. So, that's always top of mind for me is the next issue of Canadian Security and what our content's going to be, and, thinking 2 or 3 issues ahead. So yeah, we've also launched a number of awards programs in the last few years. We just closed off the 3rd annual Top 10 Under 40. We just announced the winners. Their stories will be told in the next print issue. Yeah, we launched our CS Honors, our Canadian Security Honors, I want to say 3 years ago now as well. So yeah, we're trying to acknowledge the folks such as yourself that are doing great work in the industry. We're trying to participate as much as we can. So multi-platform, just seek us out online, engage with us as well, because we're always looking for feedback.
Excellent. Now, the other thing I'll ask you to do as well in terms of the podcast and everything else that's happening, is there anybody specific that we should look for on social media? I know there's a lot of people behind the scenes and, even out in the forefront who are getting this content out. So who should we be following on social media or connecting with on LinkedIn, things of that nature, to make sure that we're not missing any of the podcasts or anything that you're putting out?
Sure. There's a core team of 4 of us. There's myself, there's my colleague Alana Ferry, who's our associate editor. There's our group publisher, Paul Grosinger. And there's Jason Hill, who's the associate publisher. So yeah, you can look for all of us on LinkedIn, find us online. Yeah, so those are the 4 major players. But yeah, I mean, please reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to add new contacts. Message me. I try and post as often as I can, and we also post from the brand. So follow Canadian Security online. Follow me. Yeah, so we're out there. Come and find us.
All right, sounds good. Now, as we close here, do you have a special message for the Healthcare Security Cast community?
Yeah, it's a pleasure to address your audience. I'm sure many of your listeners are familiar with Canadian Security, but if you're not, welcome. We're always happy to expand our audience, especially on we have a great relationship with the healthcare community, healthcare security community in Canada. As I said, we've been hosting our Focus on Healthcare event for 7 or 8 years straight now. So it's been a really great relationship with that part of the security community. So I'm always happy to expand our audience and happy to engage with the healthcare security community.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Neil. Thank you for making the time today. I appreciate it. And again, look forward to this formal collaboration.
Well, thank you, Brian. It was a pleasure to chat with you as always.
The Healthcare Security Cast is available on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music and Audible, and many other platforms as well. Check out our Linktree on your computer or mobile device. And this can be found at linktree/Brian Hamilton. That's linktr.ee/Brian, BRINE, Hamilton. Again, that's linktr.ee/Brian Hamilton. Or if it's easier, send me a text at 647-372-2042. That's 647-372-2042. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have or share any links you may be looking for. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, take care and stay safe.